Hello and welcome to episode 101 of the Back Nine Six Pack. My name is Mitch, joined as always by my esteemed colleague Justin. I had kind of forgotten what it felt like to have either a team or an athlete you're rooting for, like legitimately in the hunt for something. And the stress, like I felt every emotion last night.
Well, I'll tell you, I think I posted on my Facebook. I was like, whenever they pick up the kids, that's when I kind of lose it.
Oh,
Lost it when Tiger picked up Charlie. It just hits me every time. But it was a pretty cool moment. Him walking down after winning, um, and also almost losing it. So
yeah.
you lost it like three times, I think, or something like that. It was. Yeah, I know what you're saying though.
I, if you're somehow watching or listening to this and you didn't know, Rory McIlroy just completed the career Grand Slam by winning the 2025 Masters. He ended an 11-year major drought. It was 3,899 days since his last major victory in August of 2014 at the PGA at Valhalla. Tiger also had an 11-year drought. His was 3,954 days. Kind of some odd symmetry there.
Huh.
Um, but yeah, man, I truly like from go Thursday of the Masters through the end. I don't know that we've had a better like full Masters tournament in my lifetime. Like the 4
No,
days in total.
no. I'm going to say though, I wanted Justin Rose to win. I'm not going to hide behind it. I wanted him desperately to win. It was funny. I had a conversation earlier in the week, and we were talking about like when was the last majors, like you know, extra, one that went to extra holes or playoff or whatever, and we kept going back to Bubba. I'm like, there was one between Bubba's and now, and it was Justin Rose versus Sergio. Just so happens 4 days later, Rose ends up in another playoff at a Masters. Um, got a feel for the guy though. He's led that tournament so many times and has never won one.
Yeah,
Which
he's
includes now two playoffs.
yeah, I was gonna say I think it's now up to 12 rounds that he's been the leader or the co-leader of the tournament.
Yep.
Twice at the end of 72 holes, and he has 0 green jackets.
Yeah, and he's getting to the age where it's like I would have probably told you in 17 it was going to be his last chance. I would say he's really close to that now, which that could have been his last chance, maybe.
Yeah. Man, well, hey, you know what? Shout out to us because maybe it was just shout out to me because when we started this and or our show last week, kind of towards the end, actually, we were trying to call out like, hey, what would be the final 3 groups we want to see? I specifically mentioned having a guy like Justin Rose in the mix.
You did. Yes, you
And
did.
I like it from him, like getting the opening round, or the first round lead, then kind of falling off, and then I think he made 8 birdies in his last 12 holes
Yeah,
yesterday.
10 total birdies yesterday, which is
Yeah,
just insane.
which makes the bogey. I think it was on 17. Like that just has to sting a little bit more for him. But yeah, I like. There's just so much that we could talk about. The Masters every year is like a content just machine. But when you get something like this, where it's like the history, the players that were involved, like all of that, it is like it's so hard to even like put it into words and like to pick a point to jump off from.
Yeah, and I'll tell you this: whoever runs the Masters account on Twitter should get a raise.
Uh, I would say all of the social media accounts they're absolutely cooking. Their Instagram, like I just saw one, and it was purely like it was almost like an ASMR of the Masters type video where like they're just putting the sounds of the course, like it's like Sunday morning at the Masters, and it's just the sounds of people walking, the sounds of birds chirping, the visuals of like the different pins, the chairs, people watching through binoculars, like in like a vintage kind of filter over it too. Like it just all hits.
Yep. No, I agree. I agree.
Um, well, before we get into everything, we'll just want to say thank you all for listening. Please subscribe, rate, and review the show. Hit the like button if you're watching on YouTube. Uh, and yeah, we'll get to some fan mail later in the show. We got a couple come through, so if you have that too, please, there's a link down in the show description. Click that, and you can send us a message. I think before we get into the actual like birdies and bogeys of all of it here, Because it's Rory, because of the history of it, because of things I've read, seen, texts I've received, conversation you and I had earlier today, even. I think the bigger story than the actual birdies and bogeys of the tournament is Rory McIlroy, and I just wanted to have let's have the Rory talk. Is what I'm going to describe it as. Um, and I guess where I want to start it is what, and you even mentioned this, and I had several people mention this to me. There is a sentiment that he has underachieved in his career, and I just would like, you're the person sitting across from me, so I'm sorry that you have to be the person that does this, but I want to hear that side of the story. What someone needs to explain this to me.
Well, I think if you tag in the one, he turned professional so early, right? Um, he won at a very young age. He won some majors at a very young age. Everybody saw the talent. I think it was you know, it probably didn't do him any favors. The congressional win where he just blew out the field. Maybe that overhyped his expectations, fans' expectations. But to go from that guy, if you'd ask someone after he tapped in on 18 at congressional and wins by, I think he won by like 11 or something like that.
Yeah.
And you like, there's going to be a moment in this career where this guy's going to go 11 years without a major. One, I think that person would have took that bet, like no chance. But I think that's what kind of leads up to it. It's like, he's obviously, and I won't ever dispute this. And, I don't know if people are disputing this with you. He is a top 8 talent ever to play golf. And that's undisputable. Just from, he is a world class, probably one of the best drivers of the golf ball outside of Ben Hogan. There's a couple other guys in there, and I don't just thinking of good drivers of the golf ball. He's top 2, maybe 1. Who knows? He kind of showed it on Saturday. How he can, when he's driving the golf ball, there's just no one like him, and not even Bryson, right? Distance and control and things like that. So I think where he's underachieved is you see this, and we've seen like the congressional win and things like that. And to think that he went 11 years without winning a major when guys like Brooks, got 5 in that time period. And other guys were winning majors that just, Brian Harmon has a freaking major in that time span, right? Like when you think about that, you're like, it's he underachieved, right? I don't think there's any way around that.
Yeah, I get that. I do get that argument. I guess, man, I'm going to throw a lot of
Like
numbers
I know
out
you
there.
said, and let me point real quick. You said Tiger Woods won 11 years. Well, Tiger Woods did it at the back end of his career, right?
Correct. And he was also, there was injuries involved. A lot of his own doing, right? Injuries,
Yeah,
partially his
personal
fault,
stuff. Yeah,
personal issues, all that stuff. So it is a different kind of drought, right? Like this drought happened during what, you would say would be his
prime.
prime.
Yeah, most of his like middle of his prime. This is when that drought happened.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with that. So I'm career rundown on Roy real quick, just in case people don't like fully understand just kind of the player we're talking about. He, like you said, he turned pro in 2007. He was 17, 18 years old at that point. That same year, he was also the low AM at the Open. He had a T42. Since 2009, he's never been ranked lower than 11th in the world. And that was the year of his first win on the DP World Tour. His first PGA Tour win was in 2010. So this is a player who's been doing this for 15 years and has not dropped outside the top 11 in the world. Most of those times spent within the top 5. 44 worldwide wins as a professional, 29 on the PGA Tour, 19 European Tour wins, 5 majors, and 1 on that counted like towards OWR points, but I don't even know what tour it was on. That also includes 2 Players Championships, 3 FedEx Cups, which is the most ever, 6 Race to Dubai titles, which is the European Tour FedEx Cup essentially, along with 7 Ryder Cup appearances, which is all of them he's been eligible for. 16, 13, and 4 in those, and he has 5 overall Ryder Cup wins. That's just like what he's won, right? He's played in, let me double check this. 64 majors. How many times do you think he's made the cut?
45.
52.
Okay.
How many top tens?
I'm going to say 6.
32 top tens.
I was thinking outside of his wins. So if you count his wins, it's like, okay, he's got like 11 or 12.
This is,
yeah.
it
That's
counts.
pretty crazy. I didn't know that.
So 50% of the time as he's playing in a major, he's finishing in the top 10.
But we've always talked about that, right? Where it's like, oh, here comes a meaningless 65 when he's 10 out.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Fine. And it's like, oh, there it is. There's a top 10.
I just want to say
that he had a lot of that over this 11-year stretch. Where it's
definitely, especially like early on.
Fucks around on Saturday. Next thing you know, 65 on Sunday. Beats the entire field by 2 or 3 shots. Backs his way into a top 10.
Yeah, there was a lot of that within that, like, shortly after when the drought first started. More recently, he's been a lot more, like, actively in the mix.
Yeah.
Down the stretch. Yep. But yeah, along with that, 19 top fives. 4 times he's come in second. 4 times he's come in third to go with the 5 wins. Basically, what I'm just saying is this is like he gets labeled as a choker or someone that can't close, etc. And I mean, look, we saw yesterday he did everything possible to both throw away and win that tournament at the same time.
Yep.
I think I texted you guys, I was like, I think he's lost and won this thing at least like 6 times over the course of 4 days. But his longevity, the record in the majors, all of it, like you said he's a top 8 player. I totally agree with that sentiment. And it's hard to rank like guys now versus like golf's been around for almost 200 years, like professionally. So it's hard to compare generations that far back. But like, I'm getting too many texts about, just like comparing him to other sports and other athletes where it's like Rory is the best player post Tiger, like not even questionable for me.
Yeah, I wouldn't. Yeah, I would say if you asked me probably 5 years ago, I would say Brooks was on the brink of being that player, just because he was winning majors. But I think now that he has this, I think it's pretty unquestionable that whether he's the best player since Tiger, and I would say that's the definite yes.
Yeah, I mean, being one of 6 to be a Grand Slam career Grand Slam
winner. That goes back to the question, right? That you asked, like, why is it underachieved? If you want to be considered one of the best players in this game, right, which I would consider him, right? He's one of 6 people to ever do this, career Grand Slam. We're not going to compare you to Brooks, who is not one of the best players ever, right? We're going to compare you to Tiger, which is unfair, right? For most people, it's unfair. But we're going to compare you to the other greats. To have an 11-year drought in your prime, it begs the question, right? Of like, okay, he's definitely underachieved. You have to assume that, because you either want to be compared to the GOATs or you don't want to be compared to the GOATs, and you just want to be a regular guy. Well, if he's one of the best players, we're going to compare him to the best players. 11-year drought is noticeable, right?
Yeah, for sure. But I guess my counterpoint to that is like winning majors is freaking hard unless your name is Tiger or Jack, and there's like 10 other names that you could say maybe that too. But like, I'm looking at the data golf rankings, right? So this only goes to data, I think goes back to 1983. So you don't get, the Jack, Arnold, like those guys aren't in this list.
Yeah.
But looking at this list, Rory McIlroy is 4th all time in data golf points, which is they're like proprietary, like they give you points based on your finishes in around the world in certain levels of events. Okay. Obviously Tiger is number 1 on this list, and he's like 700 points clear of Phil, who is number 2. Vijay is number 3, and then right on his heels is Rory McIlroy. And I'm just shouting this out because the rest of this top 10, Ernie Els, Jim Furyk, Davis Love III, Sergio Garcia, Greg Norman, Fred Couples. The thing you'll notice, these guys are past their career. Like, they're not really active tour players anymore.
No.
Rory's already 4th on this list. He's 35 years old. I am expecting almost like a second version of Rory here. Like, this win, I think you could say, is like his first major.
Yeah, and I would tell you this, and I we talked about this last night afterwards with my brother and things like that, and I was like, I think it would be a catastrophic failure on his part if he can't win 2 or 3 more.
I agree.
If he can't get 2 or 3 more, that gets him to 8, maybe 9. If he can get a fourth, I think it would be. I think with the fields that you're dealing with, obviously some of these live guys that are not getting qualifications in because of world golf rankings, things like that. So let's just assume maybe a couple of the guys don't get in, especially like the U.S. Open, stuff like that.
Mhm.
I think with the talent he's playing against, it would be catastrophic if he can't get. And that sounds unfair. Like, guy's going to get the 8 or 9 majors, and we're talking like, is that going to be enough? But I think the way now that this weight's lifted off his shoulders, if he can't find a way to win at least 3 more, I think it would be a complete failure.
Yeah, I have it later in the show, but I'll just ask now since we're talking about it. I'm setting the over under at 7.5 total career majors.
I think if it's not over, again, he'd probably underachieved.
Do you think it's an over or do you think it's an under?
I think it's an over. I think this is probably gonna open the floodgates for him, because he's always had that kind of riding over him. Now that that's gone, I think it would be drastic underachieving if he doesn't get the 8 at this point. Because, it's funny, I was watching On the Range because a lot of times in the beginning, Thursdays and Fridays, that was the only thing to watch. And on Friday, they were, talking about Justin Rose, and the conversation came up is like, prime in golf now, because these guys take such good care of their bodies. There's a lot more science behind, staying away from injuries and things like that. That primes go to like 45 or 46 now.
Yeah.
And a perfect example is Justin Rose, right? And that's kind of why they were talking about it. It's like, realistically, his body's probably the body of a 35, 36-year-old if you're comparing him to in the past, right? But he's in his 40s. So, let's just call it, he has another 10 years of what you would call prime golf. I mean, if he can't get 3 in that stand, that would be, that would be a failure.
Okay. Yeah. So I think that kind of covers what I wanted to talk, just like the underachieving, the performance stuff. The other side of it is just like the idea, like, so I'm a Rory fan. Obviously, people that listen to this know this. I've been waiting for this moment for as long as we've done this podcast and many years before that. What is the reason people do not like Rory McIlroy? Because I get not liking some, like, I don't want to hold that against people. I don't like plenty of players, right? Like, I come in here and talk shit about Tom Kim and all these people, whatever. So I get it. If you just don't like somebody, that's fine. I don't like when people try to take away his career accomplishments because it doesn't make any sense to do that. But I want to better understand why people that don't like Rory might not like him.
Well, I think our whole conversation, right? I think you said he's very open, and I would disagree with that. I don't think I think that's where your fandom for him kind of gets in the way of, like, actually seeing the things he's saying and the things he's doing, because I don't think he's very open. For instance, like last year, whether he likes it or not, he's one of the best players on tour. He's got to be outspoken about what's going on with Liv. I know everybody's like, that added pressure to him, and, well, I'm sorry, but you're one of the best players, and like you're going to be part of the general mouthpiece for the tour. I mean, hell, you're on the players committee, dude. Like, up until that point, he was serving on the players only, like, committee that helps shape the rules of the tour. You can't be on that and be like, well, this is adding pressure to me. That is just total horse crap, right? You chose that, right? If you don't want to do that, then you need to, step away from that. But even if he wasn't on that, because he's one of the best players, he's going to be someone that needs to be outspoken about things. It is what it is. And you said, well, Tiger didn't do that. Well, when you are the needle, you kind of have exceptions to the rule, right? Tiger, is the only reason that these guys are making the money they're making now, right? So when you think about, he's kind of the exception to the rule where he's the best player. Well, his additions to the tour were the fact that pots are exponentially higher now than they were before Tiger existed. So he added things to the tour that didn't require him to speak out. But when you start talking about Rory being one of the best players, but he doesn't really want to be the guy that like speaks out against things and all that, I just you got to know your place. And if you're going to want to be considered one of the best, you kind of have to do that, right? And that's always been a little frustrating for me, where he kind of, especially recently, where he's tried to hide from that, because it was, it started to get the pressure started to get to him. It's well documented, right? Especially in full swing, when they're interviewing people and they said that was kind of taking a toll on him. Well, unfortunately, that comes with being one of the best players in the world, and especially one of the best players on the PGA Tour. That's number one. Number two is, when you start talking about that portion and then the money that these guys want to make, and you said, well, Colin tripled down. Well, he's an idiot too. Like, you can't want guaranteed money, no cut events, all this money into the game, but yet you want to do less as far as fan engagement, things like that. Like, it comes with the territory, right? Like, I think of like our Cincinnati Reds. Those guys come into town in December and do a Reds Fest, right? They're doing extra things to engage fans. They do a bunch of stuff. There's other sports that do things with fans that these guys, because they're getting paid the money they're getting paid, have to do these things. And I think golfers are like, well, we should just get more money and then probably not have to do these things. It's like, yeah, I get it's an individual sport. It's not a team sport, but as a collective whole, he's kind of one of those people that it just gives you the feeling that they want all this new money in the game and they want to make more money and they want all this guaranteed money, yet fan engagement's never improved.
Yeah, man, there's a lot there. First off, I genuinely, I truly believe this. Like, I think he's the most generous professional golfer with his time in terms of speaking to media, and I think to a detriment where he became Jay Monahan's shield during this live thing.
I'm not necessarily talking about media, right? I'm talking about just being more emotionally available.
Oh, I think go listen to did you watch his press conference yesterday after?
Okay. And that brings up a great point. You can't be a front runner. When things are going good, it's like, yeah, I'll be available. Yeah, well, anybody can do that. I always say this, credit to Justin Rose. That guy just lost his second playoff in a Masters, right? And he went and did an interview. Look, it didn't happen. Obviously, this is all conjecture and things like that. I would doubt that Rory did an interview yesterday if he had lost that tournament.
Yeah, I mean, he had famously last year ducked out after the U.S. Open. Now in 2022 at St. Andrews, he did speak to media after that one.
He did.
So it's, it's whatever. I can't. There's two sides of that coin. But yeah, I just think his vulnerability as an athlete, you don't get that anymore because everybody's got media training. Everybody is just said to, doing the right like PR speak. Nobody really says anything in sports anymore, and whether it's for if you want to believe it's for a show or whatever, not you specifically, just the general you, that's fine. But I find him incredibly engaging when he speaks. I respect what he has to say. He seems vulnerable and honest, especially if you look at the the interview yesterday he gave or the press conference yesterday. So there's that side of it. What was the second part you brought up? I forget already.
Just the money that they want.
Oh yeah,
and just and fan engagement and things like that. I think old Rory, maybe pre 5 years ago, was pretty engaged in the fans. That's actually, I got a really cool picture I posted last night on Facebook. That's when he took a picture of my daughter, right? Didn't even hesitate. Dude, he put his phone down and but that Rory feels like it doesn't exist today is kind of what I'm.
It's possible. I mean, he's an older man now. Different priorities. He's been through a lot of shit in the last couple of years, professionally, personally, all of it. So sometimes I get it, you just don't have it in you for that extra thing that you probably should do, right?
Yeah.
So if that happens on one-offs, I'm sure. But I think on the whole, he is a tremendous net positive for the game, for the tour specifically. I don't know where they
Oh,
would be.
I would never disagree with that. Like,
Yeah.
if Rory was not on the PGA Tour right this moment, say he went to live, the PGA Tour would be in some serious trouble.
Yeah, I mean that's my point with the whole money thing is like I never got the sense that, he was doing the money grab stuff or he's been the one speaking about no cuts and guaranteed things. Like that was a reaction the tour and a lot of people chose to take to live and he became
But
sort of a
he is part
spokesperson.
of that. He was part of that player policy panel.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
unless he's in there voting no on this stuff, which I highly doubt he was.
No, but I think
Then
Rory has always approached it, at least from what I've been able to see. His whole thing has always been like, what is the best thing we can put forward for the fan? Like, let's get the best players in the world to play together more often. Let's reunite
yeah,
the tours is his thing now, right? Like, I really do think he's thinking with that mindset. Um, and I don't know. That's just
I
the way
think.
I see it.
Well, and I think from a player engagement, you have someone like a Bryson, right, that has the YouTube channel, and let's just call it what it is. He's probably the most engaged professional golfer with fans.
When
I
he
mean,
wants to be, this is really starting to piss me off.
but I will
Bryson,
say this. I will say that I agree with you. You cannot be a front runner. When things are going your way, you can't be like, I'm all about the fans, this and that. I 100% where you're getting. But what I'm saying from a fan perspective, when you have someone like Bryson that has this image, let's call it what it is. I don't know who his PR firm is, but whatever they did 3-4 years ago to now,
yeah,
they were not paid nearly enough money, not even close to enough money.
yeah,
Rory needs his PR firm, right? But when the perspective is this guy's fan friendly, this guy's not, and that's probably part of the reason that Rory kind of catches the crap that he does when you have a guy that's at the top of this game, which Bryson is. I mean, I know he didn't play well yesterday,
yeah.
so let's call it what it is. He's got a major, in the last year. He's won tournaments on live, things like that. Like, when you have that guy at the same time as you, the perception is drastic, right? There's a drastic difference in that.
Yeah, I think the big thing for me is the whole Bryson experience. Like the best thing he ever did, honestly, for his I think stock in the game is to go to live because
Yeah.
he gets to basically his whole experience and the Bryson experience is curated. Whether
Yeah.
it's like what he wants to put on YouTube and social media, or he just gets to pop into these majors 4 times a year and he gets to put on his show, right? Like he doesn't have
Yeah,
to.
and you go, man, like, I kind of miss this guy. But then you realize you're like, if I saw him 15 weeks out of the year, this would probably get old pretty quickly.
And he'd probably be bitching about the media and getting into it with fans and all this stuff too. But because he's not a part of that week in, week out circuit, I think it's a good thing for him personally. And I think it's a good thing for his brand. And I think that's, to me,
I'm just talking about general perception. I'm not saying it's a fact. I'm just saying the perception is you have
right.
this guy doing this and this guy doing this. They look drastically different. And unfortunately, from a fan perspective, the Bryson stuff is obviously more popular, right? That's kind of what I'm getting at.
I guess. Look, it's not for me. It never has been for me, but I get the perception. Like I do. I see it.
Like,
I'm not.
perception's everything, unfortunately. In Rory's case, it is. I mean, but I think and we'll bring this point up real quick. I know we're kind of going pretty far on this, but
That's okay.
You'd brought up a point where if he was American, people would like him more. I think for most golfers or golf fans, I would agree with that. For people like us, I don't think so. I don't.
Sure.
I think we have our reasons for. I don't dislike Rory. I just think that one, he could do more. He's not my favorite golfer, and that's fine, right? Like, I think
Yeah.
like you said, we have our reasons for not liking and not liking people, or just being I would say I'm very indifferent about Rory. He's obviously an incredible talent, but like, I do agree for most golf fans that are not you and I, or the weekly viewer and things like that are tied into this. I agree. If he was American, your pop in for the majors golf fan would love Rory. They would love him.
Oh yeah.
Um, I
He'd
said
be
this
a
today.
winner.
I was like, well, you were like, well, no, we talked it out, but it was like, it's like, well, that's not true for me. Like, that's not why I don't like him, because Justin Rose, he's probably at this moment one of my favorite 3 golfers on tour. Like, and it's Probably not even close. He's easily in the top 3. And he's obviously not American. I love Shane Lowry. He's probably in my top 5. And he's not American. So, but I agree. The average golf fan, 100%. I think if they knew his story more, they might like him more. But yeah, I agree with you that I think the majority of occasional golf fans would like him more if he was American.
Yeah, if he was, Rory McIlroy, maybe change his name, I don't know, but from, I don't know, put the middle of the U.S. somewhere. Say he's from
Yeah,
Iowa, small
or if
town,
he
and
was
he's
from
from Des Moines.
California or some New York or whatever. Yeah, it would be
But like
100% difference.
his mom and dad made a ton of sacrifices growing up, working multiple jobs, opposite shifts. He just so they could pay for him to have a golf club membership at Hollywood in Northern Ireland. He's from a small town. Like his story to get to where he is now, while he now has a ton of money and fame, like is one of the great like stories we celebrate in this country.
Yes. Yeah, correct.
And especially when you count, like I said in our text, like you mirror that against the country club kids that are coming up now that are like literally born to be like golf robots and have access to everything. It's just such a different thing. His best friend's his caddy. Like he broke down talking about Harry in the interview.
Yep.
They met on the putting green at Hollywood Golf Club when they were 7 years old, and they just won the Masters together. Like there's so much of it that's so cool. I just want people to appreciate it and appreciate him, for the greatness that he has as an athlete. But I feel like just for, the generosity of his thoughtfulness, like the way he answers questions, I think is rare for an athlete is what I want to say.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. 30 minutes in. Thank you all for listening still. Please, if you're still here, subscribe, like, review, all that stuff. Now I think we can get into a little bit more of the birdies and bogeys of it all. Sudden death playoff, super sick. Hadn't had one of those in the Masters in a while.
2017.
Yeah. Unfortunate for Justin Rose. He was, fell victim again. But a couple of things before we move off of Rory. Some of the shots, both good and bad, that he hit in this tournament, like, I mean, the biggest roller coaster you can imagine. The shots that he hit into 15 on Saturday and Sunday are like all time, put it in the Louvre, like
stupid,
best of all time shots. The chip on 15 on Thursday that he put in the water, like absolute boneheaded thing. The wedge on 13 yesterday might have been the worst shot for a major winner ever.
80-yard wedge with 50 feet of green left of the pin with a backboard, by the way. Like, we're not even talking like if he just hits it left of the pin, it just stays there. Like, it would funnel down.
Yeah.
And he manages to hit it right and short of that pin, which was the only place he couldn't hit it.
Yeah, so it was so funny. So this is one of the things when you listen to the press conference after he explained, he was going through that shot and he was like, it was on a little bit of an upslope. He had a wedge in his hand and he, this is so relatable. You were trying to read the lie and he's like, when I have this lie, typically what I do is I miss left. So he's like, I borrowed a yard or two right and it just, I fanned it a little bit right, and that's the difference. Where we have that shot right where you're like, there's no way this thing doesn't draw, and then you hit it and it's just fucking dead straight and shit.
But my point is like, who cares if you pull it 25 feet left?
I know.
Who cares?
So many times yesterday where he got cute with stuff where it was like, guys, just don't hit like the
I'll
basic
tell you this. When I was watching it with my brother and my dad, I was like, I hate when guys get off their game plan. And I know situational golf, I get it.
Yeah.
But how many times can we sit here and say is like a guy gets off of his game plan and shit goes wrong? Like, it just does. Like,
you could almost see that it was going to happen, right? Like the moments where like he had to hit a shot, he was hitting every shot.
Yeah.
Like if he needed a birdie, he's going to go get the birdie. But the second he could exhale and it was like, I got this. No, we don't got it, dog.
I said this. I said after he bogeyed 14, my brother was a huge Rory fan. I said, you know what the best thing that's happened to him over the last 2 holes? He has to go for 15 now.
Yep.
Like, there's no laying up. No laying up. Like, he's got to go for it. I said, that's a good thing, though, because I'm like, it's how he's played that hole every day this week. You get off the game plan, try to get cute, things go wrong. And I was like, that's the best case scenario. Now he ended up proving me right by hitting a snapper 6-iron around the tree to 5 feet or whatever the hell it was. But yeah, I was like, that's the best thing that could have happened to him over the 2 holes. If there's a silver lining, that he's now going to have to go for 15. So
100%, absolutely true. I mean, and he talked about it too in the presser, like the luck that he had, the ball not going in on 11 in the water. He was like, every time I got in the trees, I had a freaking window. Like you never saw him hit a punch out. He was looking
yeah, it
high on
happened to him
every
on
single.
5. Yeah, he hit it in the trees on 5 and had a perfect window.
Yeah,
Like high and right, and then we won't even talk about the shot on 7. I mean, that is just I think I tweeted out like holy apex. Like none of our clubs go that high and far. Like just none of them do.
No.
Like
just unbelievable shot. I mean, the shot on 17, like so many good ones. But yeah, just some of that stuff. We talked a lot of Rory, but the last thing I do want to say, we talked the over under. The major venues this year. We're going to Quail Hollow next. Rory has won there. We're going to Oakmont. I think his game would play pretty well at Oakmont.
yeah.
And last but not least, the Open Championship is returning to Royal Portrush in Northern Ireland. I don't know.
I'd say, given the circumstances, yes, there's a chance. There's just too many, it's too many good players now, and it's and what it is like there's so many good players that just one guy gets hot. Like we saw with Brian Harmon. Like think about the talent he is, right? The guy just got hot for 1 week and won a major. Right? It just happens. Like, and Rory could play pretty good, right? And if someone with that, PGA Tour talent level gets hot for 1 week, it's really hard to beat them, right? And there's so many talented guys. It just feels like it happens every major where it's like, this guy's just hotter than everybody else.
God, dude, could you imagine if we get to Royal Portrush and he's just completed the career Grand Slam and he's won the next 2 and he's going for the single season Grand Slam in his home country?
It might the country might explode.
I mean, the sporting world would explode. Like that would be just the peak of golf crazy. All right, we mentioned Justin Rose already. Like, dude, I'm with you. Like I like Rose. He's done a complete like 180 for me. When he got to number 1 in the world and basically sold out, it was like take it away. And then when he's like, you know what, this is bad. I did a bad thing. I want to get my golf game back, and he just grinded it out for the last like 5 years. I'm glad to see him back. I hope he's got a few more runs at another one. I think he is very well worth being a multi-major champion.
Yes.
And it stinks he only has 1. So like I would love to see him knock one off here.
Yeah, and what a dude! Like for him to just battle the way he did after, obviously came out of the gates hot, and up until hole, what was it, 12 yesterday, he played even par after shooting an opening round 65. So, but just to like struggle for that many holes in a row and then just turn it on like he did, like that's pretty. I mean, that's just I'm sad. I'm just sad that it happened the way it did. I was hoping Rory would just win it in regulation.
Yeah.
I think it was just okay. He still got a chance. I had a Justin Rose ticket floating out there. I was a live bet that I made on Saturday, and got some really good odds. I'm like, look, he's not that far out of it, but Vegas is probably thinking the way everybody else is. He's 44 years old. You just got so much firepower on this leaderboard that it's probably not going to happen. So I took it and I was like, this thing's dead. After the front 9, I'm like, all right, 2 under, but he's still pretty far out of it. And then things just kind of kicked into gear. I'm like, all right, this thing might not be dead yet. So
yeah,
but we both got first round leader winners on him this week. So
shout out to Team Rose for the first round leader win. The best thing, the Masters, this is why the Masters is undefeated, is like, you get to the second 9 on Sunday, and it just feels like everything is still possible. There's so much that can happen.
Yep.
And you have guys that you're like the whole time, Rory and Bryson are coming up, towards 9 and stuff, and you're like, God damn it, like here comes Patrick Reed. It's like, oh
Yeah.
shit, there's Ludwig's like made 4 birdies now. And then, you just have all these guys that just like they ascend because of where they're at on the course, because the
I
birdies
mean,
can happen.
you want to talk about just dodging a bullet. Everybody dodged a bullet on Sunday. Patrick Reed, if he makes that putt on 14, he is in the playoff.
You mean 13?
Or 13, excuse me.
Yeah, he 3-putted from like 3 feet on 13.
If he makes that 3-footer, he is in the playoff.
Yeah, I mean,
and I don't know if I could have dealt with that. I'm just going to be 100% honest with you.
Yeah, he holed out on 17, and you can made the text. You're like, nobody cheered. Like he had no idea it went in because
like dude just like holes out on 17 on Sunday at the Masters, and you could have heard a pin drop. Like it just was unbelievable. I mean, and the way he did it, he fucking one hopped it in. Like it wasn't like it was like, oh, it rolled in and everybody like, dude, he one hopped it in and like nothing. Like and look, my shout out to my brother. He brought up a good question. He goes, "Has there ever been an athlete less liked than him?"
I'm sure in other sports, but in golf, I don't think so.
Dude, I struggled to find one in another sport too. Like I really did. Like that unliked. Like at least in another sport. Like I know this is not a team sport, but like I think a lot of the live guys don't even like him, right? Like they're kind of in the same. I truly believe that. I just don't think anybody likes him. Like it's truly amazing.
No, yeah, he's very like. I mean, his brother-in-law's on the bag. It's like him and his wife at every like they. You're right. Like I don't even know like who his friends would be considered.
But, like I struggled to come up with an athlete that was more hated than he is.
Yeah, I look mad respect for him and his performances at the Masters. I think he
plays that course well. Yeah,
several top 10, and like he does not hit it far. He plays like he'll still kind of plays like that slinging draw when everyone's hitting like high cuts these days, and he just gets it around the course. He finished third at 9 under, solo third. Scotty Scheffler had like his C- game maybe, and was like
top 5.
Yeah, solo fourth, 8 under. I like every time they cut to him, it was like, oh shit, here comes Scotty, and then just no, he did not make the putt, or did not chip it well.
It was like I could have sworn he had a 4-footer. Yeah, it didn't go in. Like
yeah, it was just like it was bizarre because it was just like you saw his name, you're like, oh shit, he's doing stuff, and it really like every time you saw him, he's like, man, he's not doing anything. Like, how is he here? So just kind of a weird week for Scotty because on Thursday it felt like. He felt like the true leader, even though Rose shot the 7 under.
Yeah,
it was like, man, he looked so in control. No, everything was easy. It was like the least effortful like 68 you'd ever see, and then he just kind of just coasted the rest of the way.
Yep, that's a good way to put it.
T5 Sung J M, like
how many shots did we see of his yesterday? 0.
Probably 0. Like truly, like the least competitive top 5 you probably will ever see. And then Bryson faded, obviously, in that final pairing. Those guys tied at -7. What do we? Anything for Bryson? Just Yeah,
I think he said it best after the round. He was like, all week he felt like he really wasn't hitting the ball that great, but he was scrambling really well and he was putting really well. And I think it kind of all came crashing down on Sunday.
Yeah.
Where he was still not hitting the ball well, putting slipped a little bit, scrambling slipped a little bit, and it kind of was what it was, right? But I think he said it best. Like he's kind of another guy. It's like he doesn't have to have like the A+ game to be, fool around with winning a tournament. And it whether you like him or not, that kind of proved what it was. Like his ball striking stats this week were not great, but he kind of found a way to be around. I mean, it helps that he hits the ball pretty far. That does help, especially on a course like Augusta. But the fact that he was like number 1 in putting going into Sunday was kind of blew my mind a little bit. So
yeah, I think conversely, his playing mate in that final group, I think Rory led the field in approach for the week.
Yep.
So yeah, like that, it definitely felt unsustainable. Like if you looked at it, but then they started the round the way they did, and you're like, oh shit, here we go. But then Bryson, like the putter, You just can't stay that hot that long. Like he had 3-putted on 3, I think. Maybe 3-putted on 4, 2.
Well, the 4 was like he putted it off the fringe.
Yeah.
And,
Okay.
I mean, technically, yes. Technically, it wasn't a 3-putt, but
Right.
yes, I mean, he 3-putted it, and I think more was like he just left himself in a bad spot off.
For sure.
I think that was more to blame on 4, but he hit some putts where you're just like, even on 5, he had like 20 feet for birdie, like blew it 4 or 5 feet past. I think he realized at that point, like, I'm either going to have to make putts or I'm not going to win because the ball striking is kind of all over the place.
Yeah, he had like this weird, just like low left kind of going.
Yeah.
Throughout the bag.
Yeah. And I mean, heck, right off the first tee, you're like, all right, that's left. And then it's like, yeah, he had a good one on 2, but then like, 3 kind of hit that iron like a little low left, and you're like, man, he's got the lefts going. Like,
Yeah.
And it did not stop the entire. I mean, then he hit a ball in the water on 11, and that was kind of the end of it.
Yeah, hit one in the water on 15 as well.
But I said this as coming from someone that used to hit kind of a slinging draw. When you have it really overcooking, you end up 2 things, and I think we actually saw both of them happen. You start to try to swing further to the right.
Oh.
And 2 things happen. You start hitting the ball further left, which we saw. And then, like on 11, he kind of really smoked, like kind of snapped that one. And then on 15, I said, the other outcome is when you start swinging further right, you start chunking it. And I think he caught that one on 15 just a hair heavy. He caught the one on 7, the approach shot on 7 up the hill. He hit in that front bunker. I think he caught that one a little heavy too, because he just, you kind of start trying to swing a little further right to like, this will straighten it out. You know what I mean? In reality, you kind of have to start going the other way. But yeah, he was kind of a mental mess swinging the golf club.
Yeah, I heard or read or something, somebody made the comment of like the single length like irons and wedges, like around Augusta specifically, because you have like so many above your feet, below your feet lies and things like that.
Yeah.
Like I wonder if that, just impacts the ball striking specifically.
Maybe. I think anything 8 iron and down, probably. Yeah, I would agree with you. Like trying to hit a wedge, a single length wedge that's the 7 iron length, when you got the ball 7 inches above your feet, it's probably not easy.
No, that's what I mean. Yeah, I wonder if that plays into it at all. Who knows? I don't know. I'm curious to see just how his career progresses here, because he made comment after the round of like, I think Amanda Balionis asked him a great question. She was like, part of what we see at this course is like people got to take their lumps here a little bit before, they can break through. And, I one thing I'll give Bryson credit for is like clearly is, he does the single length iron thing. He does all these different things and stuff. He's pretty good at just like figuring shit out, like I kind of trust him to like find what works for him here.
Which is weird because I thought, I was like, okay, he's not hitting the ball well to start out. I kind of just had this thing in my head, like he is very good on the fly. If he has a strength, like kind of just figuring it out, and it just never happened on Sunday. But I thought he was going to. I was like, okay, like yeah, and like what you said, kind of figuring out what worked for him. I thought maybe he would find a way to maybe hit a couple good shots, maybe put some game pressure like in the group on Rory, and it just never happened. So
yeah, and I mean, who knows? Maybe Augusta is just like, it's maybe just the code that he can't crack, right?
Yeah.
It's like this. People talk all the time. It's like art and science kind of place, and maybe he just doesn't have enough art, so to speak.
It's so he's so analytical. Yeah, there's not a lot of artistic brain cells that he.
Right. All right, down the leaderboard a little bit more here. 7th place, Ludwig. Disappointing finish. He got himself right there, and then he wound up to a spot where like he had to try to hole it on 18 and caught the lip of the bunker and made a bad triple.
Yeah, $517,000 triple to be exact.
That's tough. But look, 2 starts at Augusta, 2 top 10s, including a second last year. Like that's that's the way you want to start your career here. So I'd expect him to. That was a good follow up to last year, is what I want to say.
Yeah, kind of proved it's like, okay, last year wasn't a fluke.
Yeah. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I read this, and I wish I could give credit to who I read this from, but they're like, he's the new Adam Scott. Golf swing built in a lab, pretty good looking guy. I'm like, that is a good comparison.
It is.
And you know what? I think you ask anybody, they would take Adam Scott's career in a heartbeat. So,
Yeah, for sure.
and I think it could be better than that, given his track record so far. So,
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I would say Scott's another guy. I kind of compare him to Justin Rose. Honestly, it's like that's somebody that probably should have another major, right? Like
yeah,
that feels like a 2 major winner at least,
yep.
and only has the one. T8, Xander, Signs of Life. I mean, if
Didn't
like to
see a
see
whole
that.
lot of him this week. I mean, they didn't show a lot of him anyway.
No, I also did not see a lot of him. Jason Day. I had no idea. Did you know he's working with his former coach again?
Yeah, I did know. I heard it throughout the week. Yeah,
Yeah, that's the first I've heard of that. Not surprising that he's kind of had a resurgence. Uh, I'm here for the J Day
oh,
revival.
hell yeah. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely.
That's somebody I'm going to be looking at for the PGA Championship. Quail Hollow is a course too that would suit him really well.
Yep, I agree with that.
T12 Max Homa, Signs of Life, from nowhere, like truly from nowhere.
What a place to try to like figure out your golf swing. I mean, I was so excited. It was almost one of the things, like we saw like a handful of his shots, but every time you got to see one, you're like, yes, like this is the Max Homa that we knew, over the last 3 years, right? And what a place to figure it out at. There's really nothing else
No.
to say other than he found himself at Augusta, which is magical. It feels like.
Yeah, hopefully that spells a good turnaround for him. T14, just like the mega like ultra competitive or not competitive, ultra sad bunch of guys. John Rahm was like, I don't even know how he finished T14. He was complete non-factor throughout. Jordan Spieth T14, Morikawa T14. I don't know.
Meh. Yeah.
Meh, just meh.
Very meh. Yeah.
Last notable to make the cut for us, T36 for Justin Thomas. I used to feel like it was almost a matter of when he was going to win a Masters because he just felt like that guy. He has not done anything here for years now.
Yeah.
And I don't know that I see it. Man.
Sporting a new caddy, by the way.
Yeah, Max Homa's
Yeah.
guy. That sounded like it could have been a 1 week thing. I don't know. But I'm curious. I'd be curious to see if that continues.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. All right, bunch of notable miscuts here. Some of these for the name and some of them for kind of the form they were in. Russell Henley just came out and dropped a 79 in the first round. Tough. And then he missed a putt, I think, on 18 to make the cut on the number.
Yes.
Also tough. DJ, cool man. Sergio, like this was everybody's like darling pick of the week. And if there's two things I got right this week, Rory McIlroy winning the tournament and Sergio Garcia not being someone you should put any kind of money behind.
Yep.
The live form, I do not care. Do not care.
Yep.
Brooks Koepka, again, this might be what killed me on, like, I might stop the Otto Brooks thing because, I mean, it was a quad, I think, on 18. Hits it left in the trees and makes a quad to blow the cut.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know that he cares enough anymore. Adam Scott had like a 13-year streak of making the cut at the Masters that got broken this week. That hurt.
Yeah, that's sad. That's sad.
Cam Smith is just not a serious golfer. I've decided that when he showed up in like the full suit at the practice round, I was like, what are we even doing? Like, why did I put a single cent behind this man? And I drafted that guy. What a waste.
What is it? The tunnel walk that they do for the NBA and the NFL? It's like,
yeah, that's exactly what it was like. 100%.
Like, what are we doing here?
Yeah. Phil, another guy who, you heard a lot about coming in similar to Sergio, had some resurgent form, tried to make the cut and just kind of lost steam at the end. Will Zalatoris. This is another thing I was actually right about. We talked about this last week. I want Will Zalatoris to be a thing. I hope he gets healthy, stays healthy, and plays well. But like, people just continue to pump air in this guy's tires for like not having done anything for a couple years now.
Yeah,
that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, it's too inconsistent at this point, especially after coming off the injury. I don't know. Yeah, it kind of feels like he's close to being non-existent.
Well, I just don't want to hear like I listen to a lot of fantasy and betting golf stuff or whatever, and it'll be like he
He's probably
finishes.
a darling in that.
Yeah, he's a
Sure.
massive darling in that world, and the guy finishes like T26, and people are like, "Oh my God, Will Zalatoris,
He's back. Yeah.
massive value at 60-1." It's like, no, he just shot like 80. So,
Yeah.
all right, that's anybody else you want to call out, or
We'd be remiss to not mention Nick Dunlap.
yeah, I had that lower, but we can talk about it now. Yeah, the 90 to the 71. Dude, it would have been so sick if he had shot in the 60s, and he would have had 0 rounds in the 70s or 80s, but missed the cut at the Masters. But he bogeyed his last 3 on Friday.
I'll tell you, he did a really good interview on Friday. Apparently, he's been going through some stuff with his golf swing. Specifically, what I said before I even heard this, I was like, that swing he made on 3 during his 90 round, that is called the driver yips. I mean, there is nothing loose in that swing. I mean, I bet his body was so tense swinging that driver. But he did a really good interview on Friday. He's talking about how, it's really hard to pour everything you have into this and then go out and do that. But then, to come back and shoot 71, and he broke down. Like, he was like, I made my first free golf swings in over 3 months on Friday. And he said he was just ripping balls into the woods behind his Airbnb, which I thought was, he said, I hope there's no houses back there. It's like, there probably was, but
he sent his trainer to Target to buy like the mixed bag of golf balls, just whatever you could find. And he's like, I don't even know what was back there, but I was just ripping balls into the woods. Yeah, man, that one on 3 on Thursday. I sent you guys a video of that one. He hits it into 2 fairway. He has to yell 4 basically for the players that are on 2, not for the gallery. But that was the Tractor Supply ball for us, right?
God, dude, that thing was in the front door of Tractor Supply.
Yeah. So at our club, there's a hole that runs along like a
highway,
bypass route. Yeah. Anyway, it's 4 lanes of traffic and a median, and then there's a Tractor Supply right across the street. And look, 2 people on this call have definitely hit it into that Tractor Supply before.
Dude, I know that miss. I like the one he hit. I know that miss. Like, the drop kick, dead right. Like, just it's a brutal feeling.
Auto club drop. That's my go-to on a miss. So I respect it. That was a clean club drop at the top there.
Oh God.
Oh man. All right. We you know what? Let's go through the other moments shout out real quick. Max Homa absolutely pelted a 4 caddy in the middle of the fairway.
Yeah, what the fuck was that, dude?
I don't know. The guy was standing. I don't know why that guy was standing there.
And then his reaction, like Max is like,
he's like, "Come on, dude."
Like,
that's so good. I think maybe was that hole 8. I think on Thursday.
Yeah.
Go back to the Masters app.
Probably cost him like 30 yards too. By the way,
easily the way that hole rolls out. Yeah.
Not sure. Anyway, still not sure what that guy was doing in the middle of the fairway. By the way, just so we're on record.
Yeah, I think that the way I had heard it or read it was like that he was standing. Like, his job is to stand there until the players are clear from the green, so that the players behind know to hit. But I think he was already laying
out. Room though, dude. Like, the dude's punching out. Like,
exactly. So yeah, that was just a hilarious moment. Jose Luis Ballester peed in Ray's Creek.
My God.
Like, what?
That hat on, by the way. Like,
yeah,
a double whammy,
Double whammy for sure. Spieth had a good freak out on 18 on Friday. He's trying to make the cut. He clipped like the very top tree branch on the corner there, and he's freaking out. And Greller just looks at him and he's like, "You got to let it go, man." I was like, "Hell yeah, Greller, it's getting his ass."
I thought this was going to be the weekend where Greller fired him, not the other way around. Like, Greller's just like, I can't do this anymore.
Look, you and I are big Spieth fans. Plenty of people are, but I also know 2 people. Shout out to Joe and Aaron, who are not. They give me shit all the time about Spieth. Not a good look for us Spieth fans this week. The big thing they complain about is he's very whiny. Oh my God, the whininess was off the charts.
It was off the charts. Yeah, it was bad.
He complained about mud balls. dog, you were like last in the field and approached. It wasn't the mud balls, man.
You can maybe blame like one or two on it,
Yeah.
but not like every approach shot had a mud ball. Like it just wasn't the case.
Oh God, so bad. Yeah, so he's I don't that's why I said I don't know how he finished T14 because he was not there. Scotty, when he went left on 18 in the Magnolias, just like sitting down behind the trees, like waiting for the rules
I
official.
saw so many good captions of that picture too.
Yeah, there's a lot of them still floating around. That's a good one to find. And then Hatton missed a tap in and just lost his shit. Classic Hatton.
I will say for that guy, like I miss that guy's antics every week. Like just an absolute machine of anger memes. Like it's off the charts. His anger, and I love it.
Yeah, I think they should just in perpetuity just pair him and Rom together and like put a camera on them at all times.
Yeah,
like that.
like,
You just watch like the tilt group.
whereas like Rom, you feel like he actually has a legit anger problem.
Mhm.
Like Hatton, you're just like it's your buddy that's like just overreacts typically, right? I feel like that's more Hatton's thing. And I think it's Hatton's shtick at this point where like I don't actually think he gets this mad, but I think it's like he knows everybody expects it. There's probably like zero expectation for him not to get this mad, so he just does it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
100%.
that's the only way it can be explained at this point.
Yeah. Couple other shout outs here. So one, the broadcast I thought was overall really, really good. I have a tweet here too I wanted to read real quick. Let me
All
pull
right,
that
real
up.
quick when you're doing that, did we? I saw this today. I didn't even see this yesterday. Did you see Jordan Nut Tap a fan?
Oh, yeah, I totally forgot to mention that too. There was rumors that was like his manager or somebody.
Okay, because I'm like, dude, he has to know him because that was a blatant like hit to the crotch. Like, I'm like, if he doesn't, that's just bad.
Yeah. I still don't get it. Like doing that in the moment, that's
It's kind of funny.
I guess. Anyway, back broadcast stuff. So Joe Pompliano tweeted, Jim Nance and Trevor Immelman put on a broadcasting masterclass yesterday. They said just 46 words and 7 minutes of airtime after Rory made the winning putt. You could feel the emotion through the TV. Just incredible stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's about what you don't say, right?
You want to hear the sounds. Like you want to hear, Rory talking a little bit because you can kind of pick up stuff off the mics. It was perfect. Absolutely perfect.
So good. And then I wanted to shout out Dottie Pepper. I don't mind Nobilo. I'm kind of over Ian Baker Finch. But Dottie is so good at give you the info, set the scene, and get out of the way.
Yep. Dottie's a pro for sure.
The shot on 15 gave you as a golfer every necessary bit of information and then let Rory hit the shot of his career.
And let us hear the sound, like let us hear everything, right?
Yeah.
Don't talk over the shot.
She's so good and so underrated at that stuff. It's unbelievable.
Yep.
And Trevor's really good too. The putt that Rory had, I think it was on 13, where he's like, this putt does not go left. Like, you just don't want to overread this one. It's a straight putt down that hill.
Exactly what happened.
Rory missed it high right. Like, those little nuggets that these guys and, women.
I'm really starting to enjoy Trevor Immelman. I was a little like on the fence about him early on, but I think he's a perfect fit.
Yeah.
I really do.
One last thing I need to get in here too, because we've talked about this before. I can't do it with Colton Oast, man. I've tried.
Oh man, I love my guy. I like him.
It just feels like everything he's trying to do is like he's just trying to do a series of one-liners. Like he's doing like a stand-up routine out there. And
I don't disagree with that, but I like him. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Something about I don't know. I can't quite get there.
I think it plays well at a lot of tournaments. I don't know if it plays well at the Masters.
That's probably what it is. It's like, sure, if we're at, Friday at whatever, the Valspar, cool. Yeah, I'm here for it. You're entertaining.
Yeah,
I don't need that at the Masters.
I think the Masters is the epitome of class, and I think dropping one-liners and things like that. I mean, let's just be honest. Like, you're one-liner away from being banned for broadcasting the Masters. I mean, look what they did. They've done it a couple times where they're just like, you're not going to announce here anymore. Especially the on-course people. So, Faraday got banned. That was a well documented. When he said it was like bikini wax, he got banned for that. So like you're one liner away from being like you're not going to broadcast the Masters anymore
Yeah.
because they have a big part in that broadcast, right? So yeah, I would say it plays well at most places, doesn't play well at the Masters. I would agree with that.
Yeah. Last thing, we did our draft before this. We were texting about this today because I went through the final results. So we said on the show, best total score of those who make the cut. Well, you had all 6 of your players make the cut. I only had 4. Granted, I did take a nice plus 10 from those two, if we counted those scores. Long story short, I would have won if we excluded the people that missed the cut. 23 under to your 14 under. My score, including those players, is 13 under, so you clipped me by a shot.
And most pools you play in, if you have guys miss the cut, they take the worst score that makes the cut. So I'm just saying.
That is an interesting way to look at it. So then, yeah, I didn't even think about that. That's a great call out, which I would lose for sure then because somebody's like 9 over or something.
Yeah.
So I'm willing to concede the victory on this one. This is
well, I'm taking the W, so I whether you concede it or not,
that's
I'm
fine.
Claim a W here.
Just a quick recap of the teams. I had Rory who won, obviously. Ludwig who came in 7th, Colin Morikawa and Jordan Spieth T14. My missed cuts were Brooks Koepka and Cam Smith. True losers, dead to me. You had Scotty Scheffler in 4th, John Rahm T14, Bryson T5. Tremendous value there at the third spot in your lineup here.
I know.
Shane Lowry T42, who shot an 81 yesterday, which really did not help your cause. Hideki, oh man, Hideki pissed me off bad. You want to talk about somebody that cost me a good chunk of change? Hideki. He shoots a 79 in the 3rd round, and then I think shoots 69 yesterday.
Yeah.
For a T21, and then JT T36. So good on you. Congratulations for that. Yeah, I don't know. Next year, I think we should do some sort of, maybe we'll do a pool for the people.
Yeah, I think that's got to be the play.
Yeah. All right. One and done. We took Bryson T5.
Well, that's how I knew he was screwed on Sunday. Like,
yeah,
we had him in the one and done, and like, ain't no way this guy's winning this tournament.
Yeah. So we took an L there. I mean, it would have been, if he had hung around and stayed in 2nd, that would have been a nice little payday for us. But instead, we get about 800K. We moved up like 500 spots, but we're still way back. We got like 2.2 million now. RBC Heritage elevated event. Have not looked at a single damn thing today. I think there's 2 guys I have in mind though, if you'll allow. I'm thinking we either go with Morikawa as a guy who just, sort of course fit type, good form, wasn't really in it, so it doesn't feel like he really had to exhaust himself this week kind of thing. And he's only 51% available in the one and done. So like, even if he's popular, he can only be so popular kind of thing. Or I think we just, if we're going to use him at all, I think this is where you burn Jordan Spieth. I
kind of like the Colin play a little better than the Jordan play.
Yeah, the only reason I mentioned Jordan is
he's played well here, and he's won. He's
playing well. He's got a 1st and a 2nd here in the last 3 years. Feels like a guy that, like, I don't know where else. I guess we could probably use him in Texas somewhere. He might go play like the at Colonial or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the only thing with Morikawa is, do you want to save him for some? I mean, this is a signature event, so why would we save him?
Yeah, this is a big enough event that we're not really like, wasting them on a some kind of small field or whatever, or small pot.
Yeah, I mean, I'm good with burning.
Yeah, I think we roll with Colin.
All right, easy enough. Colin Morikawa, the back 9 6-pack one and done play of the week. You all know what to do from here. So,
yeah,
all right,
bet him.
Yeah,
I take Jordan.
Exactly. All right, a couple fan mail notes. We did have a couple come through. Tommy Turndogs is back for more. He was chatting it up in the live last week. Love to see that. But he said he felt like he was swing and miss on his question. His next question, which he thought he should have asked, if we won the Masters, what would be on your champions dinner menu?
So appetizers, just because I'm a menace, I'm going like chicken wings, bone-in chicken wings. Just because everybody's got suits on and shit. Like I'm gonna be a complete asshole and put bone-in chicken wings on there. If I had to pick another appetizer, probably like, man, I've really started the white like it would be so my menu would be so random.
So would mine.
Like it'd be like chips and guac. You know what I mean? Like chicken wings, chips and guac. Uh, Main course, I would have to go with like I think you always got to tie something into like where you're from.
Sure.
I would go with like ribs, right? Like because we have Montgomery in here. I think it'd be cool to do something along those lines, like ribs or something like that. I would say this another appetizer. I'd probably have like Skyline chili dip or something.
Yeah.
You know that maybe that would tie in the Cincinnati thing. But I think I would go like ribs. I'm going for messy, dude. I want people walking out of here with stains on their green jacket. Like they're gonna have to get this thing dry cleaned after the end of it. Like sides, I'm a big mashed potato guy. Like I feel like that is a must. Mashed potatoes, maybe some cornbread. Dessert, the skillet cookie is top notch. But again, because I'm going super messy here, like I'm probably gonna do some like churros. You know, so just you're getting the brown sugar, the sugar, cinnamon sugar all over your jacket. And then probably like a Frisch's Big Boy Sundae. You know,
Yeah.
I think that would be my dessert.
The Frisch's tie-in's a good touch. You got to have the big boy tie-in. Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of like you. I'm torn between like, do I want to keep it classy or do I just go like, I don't know, backyard hang type food, right? Like potluck style. So I think I'd mix up both. I'm with you. I'm a massive dip guy in general.
Yeah.
Appetizer, we're gonna look. That's where you can get the Skyline tie-in, right? You get the Skyline dip or something. Maybe even do conies if you want to get wild. Some taco dip, just like a bunch of. I'm thinking like a bunch of dips, chips and
Yeah.
guac if you want it, that kind of thing. It's hard for me not to go with a steak though for dinner. Like I'd go
I
the
thought
Patrick Reed
about that.
route. Like I want like a fat ass cowboy ribeye
Yeah.
situation. Maybe a fish option for those who want to eat a little lighter or whatever. Um, Man, dessert wise, I could just like this could be another Cincinnati tie-in. You could bring in some graters, get
Yeah.
some
Some ice
graters ice
cream.
cream in
Oh
there.
yeah.
Or you go with like a tiramisu, something a little like nice fine touch,
A little
a little bit of
classier.
coffee, yeah, a little classier look in there. Maybe even a creme brulee. I don't know, something like that.
I can tell you this: my menu would have a dessert drink. I'd go with the Mexican coffee for my dessert as well. Another
God,
someone
you're
really trying to tie one on at the champions dinner.
you know yourself well. I will tell you that. You for sure do.
Uh,
Yeah, that's a great call. Yeah, dessert drinks always that's a good play too for sure. Man, great question from Tom, obviously. And then also from Steiny, it pains me to do this, but I think he's right.
I read it too, and I was like, yeah, he's
Uh,
on to something here.
he said, "I love Jordan Spieth. I got to meet him at Augusta in 2015 when he won for the first time, aka the only time. He's only won one Masters, unfortunately. Great dude, but why are you wasting your money on him? He's a guy that when the going gets rough, he loses his mind and goes double and takes himself out of the tournament. You know who that guy is. I know who that guy is. Stop betting the king."
That's fair. I mean, look,
It's all fair.
we don't do it expecting to make money. We do it because we love them. There's just some things you do in life out of love.
Yeah, that's how I've, shout out to me for the Rory plays this week, finally paid off after all this time. You got to be there. You got to be there when your guys win.
Yep.
It can't, you got to benefit from all aspects. It can't just be about the love of the game. So,
Yep. Exactly.
all right. Speaking of the love of the game, with that, we are heading to the patio. Anything goes in the patio. Patio beers time.
You go first.
I'm gonna kick it off.
Yeah.
So I told you when we jumped on, I hadn't thought about this at all today. So I'm sticking with the master stuff. If you only had the opportunity to play one hole at Augusta National in your life, which hole would you choose?
12.
Yeah, I see
And the
it.
only reason is It doesn't look like a hard hole.
I
You
know.
know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
on TV, you're like, dude, it's like 160-yard shot. Like 100. Sometimes it plays shorter than that. It just feels. It feels like they make it harder than it looks, and I would want to find out myself. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? And if I dump it in the water after hitting a good shot because the wind switched mid shot, I want to know that, right? I just, it's the one hole where I'm like, it doesn't feel that hard, but these guys make it really hard.
Yeah. I mean, 12 is a good answer. Obviously, it's like when you think of Augusta National, you close your eyes. I think you
You
picture
think of that
12,
hole.
right?
Yeah.
Um, I, it's tough because it's like, what do I think I would play well, and what do I want to play? Could be two different things.
I mean, I would say if you're picking a hole that I would say if it was based on how I would play it, then I would not pick 12. But
Yeah, I think playing 16 if you got the funnel pin would be sick. Like I'm gonna try to make an ace. Like I'm gonna
yeah,
practice that shot over and over until and I step up there and hit that shot. I think 15 is so sick. Like
15's a
that
cool hole.
the second shot on 15 is like might be the best shot in like major championship golf.
Yes,
Like in terms of just the gravity of the moment and the scene and
100%.
all of that. Do I think I would be any good at that shot? No. No chance. I'm dumping that in the water probably every time.
uh,
But I think that would be a cool one. 13 is sick too. Um, I think I would pick 15 and I'd take my 8 and be like good hole hat tip, to the course. Um,
I think if I played 15, I'd find a way to hit it not in the front water, but the back water.
oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I've always thought if I ever played that hole, I'm like, I wouldn't fuck up and hit it. I would be so worried about hitting it short that I'd hit it too far and find myself in the water behind the green.
Yeah.
Don't forget about that pond back there.
No, and that's definitely in play. I also think 2 is sick. I think 2 would be like my best chance to make a birdie.
Sets up well for your draw.
Yeah, I think the shape of the hole, there's no water. Or if I get it in play and going down the hill off the tee, like I think I'd have a good chance. Is all
Yeah.
I think.
Draws people that draw the golf ball play this course well. I was trying to think of another hole where it's like, where does a cut set up well? And there really isn't a good hole for a cut. Uh,
Yeah,
everything kind of moves to the left. It sets up really well for a draw.
Yeah, we were. This makes me think of a conversation I had with Nick on Thursday. We were watching kind of like the featured groups and the whole 3, 4, 5 coverage and stuff. And I was like, dude, if you played like 4, 5, 6, like what are you making on each of those holes?
I'd say at least a bogey on 4.
Yeah.
5's another tee shot that just does not set up well for me. I've had to start a cut out up over the bunkers. You want to talk about terrifying, but then you're trying not to overcut it and hit it into the tree line. I'd say I'd double 5. 6, I like my chances with hitting a high cut into that green. Feels like one of the par 3s that sets up well for just kind of launching a high cut, which is what I hit. I like my chances on 6.
Yeah. So I asked Nick, and he said he think he would go par, double, bogey. He says 4, he's going to hit the middle of the green 2 putt. 5, wayward drive that completely derails the hole. And 6, he says he hits the green, but he 3 putts. My description, 4, I'm hitting a toe shitter into the front bunker, blasting it over the back, clunky chip on, 2 putt for a double. 5, Waffle House ball off the tee, punch out, skanky shot onto the green, but then a scummy bogey save. 6, I'm missing left. I'm chipping it to 20 feet, and I find a way to 2 putt for a bogey. So I think I'd go double bogey. That'd be my stretch there.
Yeah, I don't like 4. I really don't.
Dude, 4 would eat my lunch. It's a long par 3. That I'm telling you, my ball would be in that front bunker, and it would be death from there.
Oh, really? See, I would be happy with it ending up in that front
I know
bunker.
you would. I would not be.
I think for whatever reason, I'd over club and hit it long, and that's dead.
Mhm.
I mean, that's just completely dead back there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ugh. Well, so this week is spring break for my kids, and this prompted a question of what are the most useless breaks in an academic year that you can think of? Because I will tell you this year their spring break lands really late. I mean, this is late, late.
Yeah.
Obviously hooking it up with Easter, which is this Sunday, but they have 3 weeks of school left when they get back.
Right.
I mean, you want to talk about a useful or useless like break? This would chalk. You could almost chalk this up. And I think I'm in the boat that spring break is the most useless break in the world.
Yeah, it's really tough. I live that, that school break life, with Susie being a teacher and having kids in school now. Some places I think give like a weird kind of like fall break that's
Yeah,
like before
I
Thanksgiving.
hated that in college. Just for the record, I hated it.
Yeah, like it's like a mid semester but not yet Thanksgiving break. Like that seems really weird. You're only in school for, you know, 6 weeks or whatever before that happens. Yeah, spring break, and it's pretty arbitrary because, like, like some schools do hook it up kind of like you said with Easter. So it moves around a lot. Like that's
Yeah,
not consistent on the calendar at all.
which I don't like
Um,
either. I don't like that.
no, that's what I'm saying. Like it's fine if spring break was like, I don't
Hey,
know,
every year, the
the
last
third
week of
week in
March.
March.
Yeah,
Yeah,
or third week of March. Yeah,
that makes sense to me. I'm with you. I think that would be useful. The fact that it moves around the way it does is kind
sucks.
of kind of annoying.
Yeah. I always hated fall break in college. I thought it was kind of stupid. And then, when you start thinking about it, you're like, all right, I'm going to school Monday and Tuesday before Thanksgiving. Screw your fall break. Like, let me have
Yeah.
that Monday and Tuesday.
And
Like,
that's what Susie's school does, which is fantastic. They do
yeah,
the
there's
whole
a
week of
couple schools
Thanksgiving.
that do that now. I think, where Nick's at, they do that as well. Just makes a lot more sense that way.
Yeah, and I mean, being in the the adult real world of work now, like depending on where you're at, like you don't get some of these, some of the that are quote unquote national holidays, but they're more like the minor ones. Like you
Yep.
don't get those. So when you're at a company or a place and it's like, man, I don't have a day off from New Year's Day until Memorial Day,
It's tough.
you're begging for any break you
Yeah,
can get.
that's fair.
Um, so yeah, it's like hard to say they're useless, but I agree with you that I think spring break is an odd one, especially given where it falls in a given year.
Yeah, I think for me, it's just the fact that it changes every year. You don't know until the calendar comes out, like at
Yeah.
the end of the school year, like where it's going to fall next year. It's, you know,
Yeah,
and
because a lot of people obviously you travel for spring break. A lot of people do, and it's
yeah,
like it'd be nice to know
yeah,
when
yeah,
that is
exactly.
every year.
And I look, this is going to be a little biased. I've got my kids all by myself this week. Wife's going out of town.
Oh,
It's deserved. I'm going to Scotland in a month for 9 days. Like, but I'm a little butthurt about spring break this year. So
yeah. Okay. So you're about a month out from Scotland. Still, have we not registered around? What are we doing? How's the game?
no, I got to get out. It could be if I don't get to playing some golf here soon, it's going to be a struggle.
Yeah.
It is going to be a struggle. I'm not hitting the ball bad when I've hit it in like the simulator and stuff. There's just something about getting on a real golf course. I've got to find a way to get 4 or 5 rounds in before we get over there. I just
Yeah.
have to.
Oh man, I get.
I mean,
Yeah.
it is approaching quickly, and I just talked with someone that's going to be on the trip today, and they're saying the same thing. Like our weather's just not been great. Uh, Mostly rain at this point, not cold, but rain. And it's just like we just not played enough golf outside. And within a month of going to play, St. Andrews and shit, it is terrifying, terrifying.
Yeah. I'm blaming the late Easter on all of this, right? Like
Yeah,
I know I'm bad. I didn't actually know how Easter was determined until recently. It's something to do with the moons and
yeah,
whatever after a certain time. Feels like that's related, right? Like that's
A
weather
late
stuff, right?
Easter, going to be late bad weather.
Yeah,
Yep.
that feels like it has to somehow be related. So that's where I'm going with it. But yeah, look, we got to get you out there. League's coming up. I
Sooner
gotta get
rather
signed
than
up.
later. Yeah. So
First week of May.
just maybe,
Yeah.
I'll get out on a real golf course here soon.
Yes. All right. Well, man, I'm exhausted, dude.
Yeah.
Like I said, I felt all the emotions. I rode that out with my guy yesterday, and it was truly exhausting. I'm on fumes over here. I was texting Nick. I was like, dude, late last night, I was like, I'm dead physically, but my brain is like on fire. Like I was like so awake mentally, but so dead physically.
Yeah. I feel that.
So yeah, it's what a Masters week. I don't know that it's like, for me personally, it's one of the best like results. People probably will disagree with that, but like I just think, like I said earlier, like wire to wire, what a fun
Yeah.
golf tournament
No, it was one of the most fun I can remember for sure.
like we wanted Bryson Rory, we got Bryson Rory. I
He
wanted to
gave
have
us
Justin
everything we
Rose.
asked for.
Yeah, Scotty was around, Ludwig was around. There was runners. You know, it was great.
Yeah.
Truly fantastic. I'm sad again for like 360 days till the next one.
Yeah, I know. God, it feels so far away.
But you know, some pretty decent major venues here coming up. So I think
Yep.
we've got some good. It feels like a good summer of golf setting up.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, hope everybody enjoyed Masters Week. Hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, please subscribe, rate, and review the show. Like it on YouTube if you're watching, and follow us on social media at Back96Back. Until next time, cheers.
Yeah.